Special Personnel Task Force background check on Jack Reacher. Colonel Summer was my subject. Her job provided access to high-level classified intel, and I was scheduled to interview her today at Fort Byrd, North Carolina. Yes. I was standing in the middle of an airport terminal surrounded by strangers and subject to data collection by amateurs as well as multiple agencies, foreign and domestic. The very air was literally aware of every transmitted word. The less said, the better. Summer spoke as if she were aware of the risks, but unconcerned. "I've confirmed your assignment with the Chief of Staff. He's ordered me to meet with you and answer all your questions." I felt like I'd landed on a different planet. Never during my assignment to build the Reacher file had an interview subject contacted me in advance. Usually they had to be coerced into speaking to me at all. "I'm sorry," she said, sounding as if she meant it. Here it comes, I thought. The excuses, the delays, the refusals. No friend of Jack Reacher's had been willing to tell me anything about him. Some of them wouldn't have answered even one of my questions if their hair were in flames and I was standing 2 feet away with a fire hose. Why would Summer be different? "I promised to meet you at 10:30 in my office in Rock Creek. I've had a change of plans. Hang on." I heard dead air. What was she talking about? I looked at my Seiko. It was 7:25 already. I couldn't possibly drive to Rock Creek, Virginia by 10:30 this morning. The boss knew everything. Why had he sent me to Fort Byrd if my subject was located 400 miles north of here? She came back on the line. "Sorry, had to pass a slow-moving RV. Honestly, vehicles should stay in the right lane where they belong if they can't keep up on these mountain roads." "No problem." I frowned and shuffled ahead a few steps in the Java line and waited for the coffee and for her to come to the point. "Something came up on a corruption case I've been working for a while. I'm driving to Fort Byrd, North Carolina. I should arrive in the XO's office about 10 o'clock, and I'll be there the rest of the day." She paused as if something had caught her attention again. "I don't know where you're located, but if you can come to Fort Byrd instead of Rock Creek, we can do your interview there. It shouldn't take long to tell you everything I know, and it's all old news anyway. I haven't seen Reacher in 20 years. Would that work for you?" Yeah, I can make that happen. Hang on a minute." I was now at the front of the line, and a long queue had formed behind me. The barista smiled at me and asked for my order. She seemed a little disappointed when I said, "Black coffee, please, the biggest size you got." I reached into my pocket for a $5 bill just as a hyperactive 10-year-old plowed right into me and knocked me back against my bag. The bag fell, I fell on top of the bag, the kid fell on top of me, the boss's cell phone went flying out of my hand. The kid's twin brother came running to a halt inches away from our pile. He kicked the phone. The phone smashed into the wall and busted apart. The pieces were stomped and pushed by shuffling feet and rolling travel bags. The mother jogged behind the twins, yelling, "Stevie, Larry, stop!" Stevie jumped up and dashed farther into the airport with Larry and Mom in hot pursuit. By the time my well-meaning co-travelers hauled me off the floor, the phone's pieces were nowhere to be found. They had probably been kicked around and trampled on and who knew what else. I dusted myself off and righted my luggage and paid for my coffee and moved to the side of the counter out of the melee. I stretched all my limbs and examined myself for bleeding, but saw none. There would be bruises, especially on my hip where I'd landed on that hard suitcase wheel. But bruises weren't lethal. Briefly, I thought about how the boss had learned Summer was on her way to Fort Byrd and who else knew her plans. And then I shrugged and pulled out my personal phone and sent him a text. Phone destroyed. He'd know what to do. Chapter 2. Friday, November 19th, 11:43 a.m.